The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. For company customers, put us $5, $100 bonus funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. And welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Monday night, October 20th, around 11 p.m. Eastern. I'm Reichel going solo for this pod. Time to get into the final preseason episode of the NBA season because we have the NBA starting on Tuesday. It's exciting. We are less than 24 hours away from the start of, I'd say, professional basketball. So point is, looking forward to it, but we do have some unfinished business. Have to break down some future markets still. We do have the divisions, and we also have the title picks for the show. Reichel going solo. I was supposed to be with Terrell. Unfortunately, though, he is sick. He has a migraine, so he can't make it. But either way, I am now going solo. We were supposed to record this episode hours ago, but the streaming platform we normally use completely disintegrated, and they were down all day. So finally, the platform's back up. We can record now. So once again, the format here, going through every division, all 6 of them, talking about who I'm going to end up picking to win the division, and then we'll get into some potential playoff bets, etc. Then wrapping up with, of course, the NBA Finals predictions, etc. Either way, though, before we get into any of the actual content for this episode, a reminder that if you are not actually following or subscribed to the channel, you should do so. Don't forget to check out the podcast either on YouTube, either on Spotify or Apple, so you can listen to it or watch it, depending on how you actually want to consume it. But either way, point is we do episodes Monday through Friday every day for NBA. So if you do want some NBA content, you came to the right place. Hopefully you enjoy. Every pick is free. I'll mention that. Free picks every single day. We never charge any money. No dub club, just overall picks. So once again, keep that in mind. Anyway, getting into the first division we're going to talk about here for the episode, we are going to talk about the Atlantic Division. Now, for this one, we already did win totals, so there might be a bit of overlap in terms of content because we already talked about the over-unders for teams, so you can kind of piece together who we actually like to win divisions. But for the Atlantic Division, you do have what could be potentially open division because the Celtics, we know, are very injured. The Sixers, we know, are battling health issues every year. The Knicks are very good, but of course they have a new coach. We'll see how Mike Brown does with the team. Knicks are favored -300. Sixers are +450. Celtics 9-1. Raptors 16-1. And the Nets are, whatever the price is not high enough. So for the actual, I'd say, prediction here, the real question is, does any team give the Knicks a realistic fighting, I'd say, sweat out of the division? My answer is no. Now, Boston, if Tatum was healthy, then yes, you'd have a conversation. But he's not. So even if Tatum does hypothetically, very unlikely, if he does come back, let's say in the last month or two of the season, is that enough time? No, it is not. So I think the Knicks end up winning close to 60 games. The Eastern Conference, we know, is very weak with all the injuries, whether it involves Tatum, whether it involves Halliburton. Lillard, of course, is no longer on the Bucks, but the point is you have a lot of weak teams in the East. I think the Knicks run away with it personally. I think the Knicks win this division easily. We already have rumors that Embiid might not be ready for opening night. Paul George, same story. And the fact is you already have a bunch of injuries. McCain was also out for the Sixers. The team just is cursed health-wise, so I'm not going to take them. Besides that, Boston, they're not good enough at this point. I get that they got Simons. They lost Cornette. They lost Horford. Lost some front court pieces. Big losses there. Not interested. I'll pass on Boston. Pretty chalky, though, for this division. Not going to waste anybody's time with the Nets because that team is going to be god-awful. But if you're asking for any value plays here, the Knicks to potentially win 60 games could be intriguing. You can find the Knicks to win 55 at +125. 60 wins is available. I actually don't even see 60 wins. So 55 is at +125. I'll take that. I think the Knicks have a very easy Eastern Conference this year compared to most years. This team's healthy. They have a new coach. And Mike Brown, I think, can actually do well with the core that they have. They got Jordan Clarkson to help off the bench. Brogdon retired, so that is not going to help them out this season. But still, the Knicks should run away with this division. I don't see it being close. You could argue if Embiid plays well. I don't know how many games Embiid's even going to play because the Sixers know that he is waiting to deteriorate physically. So based on that, I got the Knicks handily in this division. I think they might win this division by like 8+ games. I think it's a rout in this one. So I have really no, I'd say, contrarian opinions on this division. Give me the Knicks, though, to win the division. Give me the Knicks to win 55+ games at plus 125. Moving on to the next division, the Central Division. So for this one, should be a pretty, I'd say, interesting option if you want to fade the favorite. Because for this division, you have one pretty prohibitive favorite. So for the actual odds here, you have the Cavaliers, who are currently minus 525. Pistons are at 7-1. Bucks are at 11-1. Pacers are at 80-1. A reminder, a bunch of people are hurt already. No Halliburton all season. McConnell got hurt as well. They are, I'd say, worthy of being a massive price, despite making the finals last year. And the Bulls, who will try whatever they can to make the play-in, and that's all they really care about. So for this division, I understand Cleveland was amazing last year. Of course, they were the 1 seed, then fell apart in grand fashion against the Pacers. However, do I think they should be this big of a favorite in the division? I'm going to say no. I get that the Cavs should win this division, but the argument is, should they be a bigger favorite by basically $2 over the Knicks? I don't agree. I think the Knicks should be a bigger favorite in their division than the Cavs should be in their division. So I don't mind Detroit, actually. I know Ivy's now going to be out again. What else is new? They lost Malik Beasley, who's still a free agent. They got Duncan Robinson, though, to replace the three-point volume shooting role off the bench. But I do think the Cavs, who have had a history of, I'd say, injuries with their star core. We know Mitchell does miss some time. You're looking at Mobley, who was healthy last year. You can argue that things health-wise went pretty well for the Cavs last season, where all of the main core players played at least 70 games. And I do think that could potentially regress. We saw Garland's body fall apart in the playoffs. Mitchell's had a similar thing happen in the playoffs in previous years. Mobley played 71 last year. For reference, he ended up only playing 50 the season prior. You could argue that if health does not go right for Cleveland, there might be a path. And I do think losing Jerome's a big deal, who we know was one of the sixth-man finalists of the year, and he ended up not winning the award. I'll make a case for Detroit. Do I think Detroit wins this division? Probably not. But at the same point, do I think Cleveland should be minus 525 while the Knicks are only minus 300? No. I think the Cavs are too big of a price there. I do think the Cavs should be favored. I would flip them with the Knicks. I'd have the Knicks at like minus 400, minus 500. I'd have the Cavs at like minus 275 if I had to price it myself. Once again, shop around. You can probably find better numbers, but losing Jerome's a big deal. I understand they ended up getting Lonzo. Will it be healthy? Nobody knows. Probably not. But the injury bug did not really bite them much last year. And if it does, I can see this team underachieving. Detroit, though, we know made a very good run last season, the regular season, ended up losing in the first round to the Knicks. But still, you have Cade, you have a bunch of talented young players, and you could argue that Detroit has tasted success. Maybe they want a bit more. But I think Cleveland, who had very good injury health last year, I think they're too big of a favorite. So for value, give me Detroit in this one. Once again, I would still probably pick Cleveland to win the division, but 7-1 does feel pretty large for Detroit. Milwaukee at 11-1. If Giannis goes God mode, maybe, but I really hate that team's depth. And I do think that without Dame this season, because of course he's now on Portland, out for the year anyway, you got Miles Turner instead of Brook Lopez. I think Lopez might be washed. I think Turner's a guy who I've never been a fan of, and that's been mentioned many times on the show. Milwaukee's not deep enough. Giannis also gets hurt a lot, so if Giannis does get injured, they are officially screwed. So give me Detroit as a value play, 7-1. Cleveland might get the job done, but you know what? This price is too big. I'll pass on them there. Wrapping up the Eastern Conference, we have the Southeast Division. This is the closest division race according to the markets. You have the Magic at minus 160. You have the Hawks at plus 150. Heat are at 14-1, Hornets 150-1, and Wizards are the same price as the Nets. So a 0% chance that is going to happen. I'd argue same with the Hornets because they've never really been a winning franchise with LaMelo as their best player because he's never healthy. But if you want the Hornets 150-1, I'm not taking the Hornets. So for the teams that we have here, we know Orlando won it last year with a 500 record. It was a disgusting division last season. Now, Orlando, of course, got Desmond Bane, so they did get a three-point shooter, which they really, really needed. Jalen Suggs got hurt. He's back. We know he's a very good player, too. They still have Paolo. They still have Franz. They had a bunch of injuries last season. So they are healthier, and that's why they're predicted to be a very good team, a non-play-in, playoff team, unlike last year. Now, for the Hawks, they're also very improved. Jalen Johnson, first things first, is healthy again. They got Porzingis. They got a couple of nice pieces. I think if you asked most basketball fans who was the biggest winner of the offseason, I think Atlanta would be in the top 3 of most people. They had a very good offseason. Now, is it good enough to get them over the hump? I'm not sure about that because we know Trey is still the best player on that team. My thoughts on Trey are documented. I think they're comparable to LaMelo Ball. He's more durable than Ball, but no defense at all, questionable shots at times. But we know that Trae Young is a phenomenal passer, and he can definitely help a very good offense average 120-plus points per game. So Atlanta's offense should be really, really good. Do they play any defense? Great question. The answer is probably not. So they're going to have to outscore teams in order to actually win. Now, for the starting lineup here for Atlanta, based on projections, you have Trey, you have Dyson Daniels, who got a massive extension, deserved, as he, of course, was a phenomenal player last year, winning Most Improved. Risache, who was good as a rookie, I think we'd agree that he was pretty streaky at times, but there is definitely upside there, which I have to at least acknowledge. And I'll point out that in his rookie season, he did average 12.6 points per game. So a pretty good rookie season. Maybe if he blossoms, he can be a very solid 3-and-D guy as well. You have Jalen Johnson, who we know is very good, but of course he missed a bunch of games last season, and Porzingis, who's always injured. For the bench, you have Alexander Walker, who they signed, who I think is a good addition. Also end up using Okonkwo off the bench, who I like. They have Luke Kennard for three-point shooting, and you also still have Gay off the bench, who is a solid backup center. So do I think the depth is great on Atlanta? Not really, but Okonkwo off the bench I think is a very solid sixth-man candidate, and if Porzingis gets hurt, you're not screwed. Because I do think Okonkwo and Gay could be a solid tandem anyway as a front court if you do miss Porzingis, which is expected for probably 20, 30-plus games. Now, the issue that I have with Atlanta, do I think they're built to withstand injuries to people not named Porzingis? If Trey gets hurt and or Jalen Johnson, are they completely dead? I don't know if they're completely dead, but it's not good. Because Trey, we know, runs the offense entirely, but of course defends better when he doesn't play. We know Jalen Johnson, though, is a very, very good power forward, but you replace him with basically Newell and a couple of question marks, it's a problem. So I'm not really sold that much on the bench with this team. Having said that, we know Orlando last year got very injured, and the team struggled because they couldn't score. So they got Bane for spacing. But you're looking at the actual lineup. Do you like their bench of Anthony Black, Jace Richardson, De Silva, Batadze? And if you want to throw in Jet Howard, you can, even though he barely plays. Now, Suggs is still currently injured. They got Tyus Jones, though. I love that addition for Orlando. I've been a big Tyus Jones fan for years. I think that he's one of the best backup point guards you can get in the league. And that's why his assist-to-turnover differential is elite, like all-time elite every single year. I think he's a great backup point guard. So I love that addition for Orlando. Bane was the blockbuster move. They're still great defensively. Not sold on Carter Jr. and Batadze as their centers, which has been the same concern for years. But Isaac, when healthy, is great defensively. They're going to be a menace to play against night in, night out. And I do think Orlando, despite having a bunch of injuries last season, you know what? They got through the play-in. They actually gave Boston a sweat. They lost the series, but at least they won a game or two. I think Orlando wins this division. I understand the argument for Atlanta. I get this team should be improved. But I do think Orlando, with the defensive identity, with the adjustments they made, I'd say getting certain, players to help with the flaws, most notably with, of course, Bane to help the three-point shooting, and Tyus Jones to help out backup point guard stuff. I really do love their moves, and I do think Suggs is a very, very good player. And he's not going to be out for that long. He ended up missing the Thursday preseason game against the Pelicans. He did some contact work earlier in the week. So I do think he'll be relatively soon. If he misses opening day or opening game, not a big deal. He should be back within the, I'd say, first couple weeks. So I do like their overall guard depth with Suggs and, of course, with Tyus Jones. I think the front court's a bit of a problem. They can maybe trade for somebody if they need to. But I think Orlando will be more consistent than Atlanta with the defensive upside and the lack of defensive identity for Atlanta. Give me Orlando to win this division at -160. It's juicy, but I get it. I think Orlando ends up winning close to 50 games. Do they get there? That's a big question. I'm not sure if they do end up getting there, but it'll be close. I'll take Orlando to win this division at -160. So before we get into the actual Western Conference divisions, a reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, MyBookie.ag. Using to bet on football, basketball, of course, NHL, tennis. They have a prop builder, second to none. Bottle simple. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime. Use crypto to fund your account to get payouts. And a reminder, you can use the promo code SGPN when you head to MyBookie.ag. When you sign up for a new account to get 100% bet back bonus, $500 from customers. MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN. Once again, use code SGPN for 100% bet back bonus, $500 from your customers. MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN. We're also brought to by Novig, which is the number one prediction market for sports in America. You're getting some great price on Novig, available in the 5+ states, so make sure it's available in yours. 35 plus, though, does cover the majority of the U.S. Download the app, and when you do, get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get on the actual Novig, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the McGowan Podcast. Finish going for the Eastern Conference Division. Time to move on into the Western Conference. So starting off with the Pacific Division, I'd say the most polarizing division for the West. So starting off here, for the favorite in this division, you do have what is, once again, potentially risky because you have two teams that are separated by 10 cents. The Clippers are plus 175 favorites, the Warriors are plus 185, and the Lakers are 215. Then you have the Kings at 45-1 and the Suns at 90-1. So simply put, toss out the Kings and Suns. I don't see a Cinderella story for either team. It's a three-horse race. Now, the Lakers were towards the favorite list, and then LeBron got hurt, and the price dropped a little bit because he hurt his back, and we know LeBron is, of course, older, who is close to retirement, but still, we question the durability of LeBron, not to mention the actual lack of defense on this team. I'll dismiss the Lakers first. I know Luka's there. They still have Reeves. They got Ayton. I am really not sold on this team defensively at all, and I think this team will get torched defensively on a regular basis. So for this lineup, allegedly, the starting lineup is Gabe Vincent, Luka, Reeves, you have Rui, and you have Ayton. Of course, LeBron would be in the lineup, probably for Vincent. You'd move Doncic to the point guard, use Reeves at shooting guard, and probably LeBron at small forward when they're fully healthy. Now, defensively, that's not good. We know Rui is not a great defensive player. He tries. LeBron has not been nearly the same guy defensively that he was in his prime, naturally because he's older, conserves energy offensively. We know Luka's been a traffic cone on defense for his entire career. I know that he got skinnier, but effort on the defensive end has been a problem. We saw that in the finals against the Celtics, saw that last year against the Timberwolves. It turned into barbecue chicken war, I'd say, for that series. But when you have Luka and Reeves in the same backcourt defensively, and your rim protector is DeAndre Ayton, you have serious problems defensively. Reeves is not a good defender either, and we know Ayton's effort is always a question mark. I think most Lakers fans hated him during the actual preseason. I don't like their defensive identity at all. LeBron's not going to fix that when he's healthy. I know Hayes can rim protect, but he doesn't really give you much offense, and foul trouble can be a concern. Vanderbilt, same story. Great defensive player, always in foul trouble, never healthy. I actually like LaRavia as a depth piece. Connect can't defend at all. They got Marcus Smart, who's washed at this point, who maybe can give them a decent month or two, but I don't trust Smart physically to stay healthy and to actually look like Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart. He's well past his prime. The Lakers aren't getting that version of Marcus Smart. It's a much worse, watered-down version. And Maxi Kleber is their backup stretch power forward, who's not a good defensive player either. So the Lakers I'm tossing out. with LeBron being injured before the season even starts, and with this team being awful defensively, not to mention Luka, who's also had injury issues in the past, too many questions. I will toss the Lakers out. Not interested. Think they will not win enough games to win this division. Now, for the Warriors, they have an old starting lineup, of course. But you know what? I actually don't mind it. For their lineup, they have Curry, Pajemski, Butler, Green, and they got Al Horford as their new center. For the backups, you have Payton II, who usually is hurt, but as of right now, he's healthy. Buddy Hield, who was great in the postseason. Kuminga, who Steve Kerr was put in the doghouse for a couple of months, and now he's getting paid $23 million a year. So funny how time changes. But Kuminga will be in the doghouse at some point because Kerr hates him, but he's still coming off the bench. And Post is pretty good as a center last season. They still have Jackson Davis, still have Guy Santos, a couple other veterans who are around, but you really don't care much about. So for the Warriors, I don't mind this team. The problem is durability. When you're that much older, just based on the average age than most teams starting lineups, Curry, we know, has missed some time with injuries over the last few years. Butler's always injured. Draymond can get hurt too. They don't have much front court scoring with Draymond and Horford. The defense will be really good, assuming Horford is not totally washed. And he didn't look washed last year in general. So I actually do like defensively what this team can do with Butler, Green, and Horford. Even Payne II, if you want to throw him in there, they can really frustrate teams defensively. You have Curry shooting. Do I like the rest of the floor spacing? Not really. I mean, Horford is viewed as being a stretch five. Is he a great three-point shooter? Not really. If you want to look at his numbers for last season, he shot 36%, so fine. 42% from the floor, so not exactly a great offensive center, but he can give you some spacing. But I do think Butler and Curry, when healthy, can maybe score enough to win some games they don't deserve to win. Their defense should be very, very tough to handle. But injuries are a factor because Butler's hurt all the damn time. So is Steph, and that's kind of the question mark. Butler, of course, is more injury prone than Steph is. The Warriors are definitely in the running, and I can understand why they are priced accordingly. I would have them over the Lakers for a prediction in terms of standings. Now, the Clippers, though, are the favorite at plus 175. So 10 cents cheaper than the Warriors, but I understand it. They are absolutely loaded on this roster. Now, you're looking at the lineup of James Harden. They got Bradley Beal, who's replacing Norm Powell. Bradley Beal, though, was really awful when he was getting paid $50+ million. Now he's making $5 million. So I could actually tolerate Bradley Beal again. $5 million for his contract this season. Very, very manageable. And I think that actually helps the Clippers out. They got Kawhi Leonard, of course, who's getting $50 million more under the table, but $50 million listed on the salary cap. John Collins they acquired, who was actually very good on Utah last year when they sat him because they were tanking. They got Zubac as well. They got Brook Lopez as their backup center. They got Batum, Bogdanovich, Dunn, and they got Chris Paul as their backup center. So based on depth, the Clippers are definitely the deepest team in this division. They're one of the deepest teams in the league. I'm not saying that I really love Brook Lopez at this stage in his career. As a backup center, though, definitely viable. Batum played some good minutes in the playoffs. Solid Swiss Army knife guy, good defender, can shoot some threes. Bogdanovich is the flamethrower that you could use off the bench. Dunn is going to be the Gary Payton II of this team. Great on-ball defense, no offensive talent at all. But for some lineups, you can use him to hound a guard, make life difficult for opponents. And Chris Paul, who actually played every game last season and is a very, very good backup point guard to have. So, look, I know that Kawhi is injured all the time. I get that the load management can be frustrating, but based on team depth, I actually really like this Clippers roster on paper. Now, I would not pick them to win a title because they're the Clippers and they can't have nice things, but I do think for the regular season, I would make a case for them to win this division. The Clippers, I think, can handle an injury to a big player. If Harden misses some time, I don't think they're screwed entirely. You still have Beal, you still have Kawhi, you have John Collins. Zubac emerged as being a serious, I'd say, beast in the paint last season. The Clippers aren't totally dead if Harden gets hurt for 2-3 weeks sometime. I think they could win 50+ games, and I do think, unlike the Warriors and the Lakers, I trust their ability to, I'd say, get past a couple injuries while not falling apart. So I'll go with the Clippers, actually. I'm not saying, once again, I'd pick them ever to win a title. with James Harden on the team. But I do think for the sake of this overall roster, from 1 to 10, they are really, really deep. And that's good enough for me. Give me the Clippers to win the division. Great home court, which helps out in the middle of the season. I think they'll be able to win potentially 50. Give me the Clippers to win this division at plus 175. Moving on to the next division, the Northwest Division. So for this one, you're looking at trying to just find the exact odds right now. You have the Thunder at minus 390. You have the Nuggets at plus 380. Timberwolves 16 to 1. Trailblazers are 200 to 1. The Jazz should try the WNBA. So for this actual division, it's a two-horse race. People can argue Minnesota. I'm not. Minnesota's not on the same caliber as the Nuggets and as the Thunder. For this actual division race, there are two teams worth a damn, in my opinion, the two best teams in the league. Now, we're looking at OKC, defending champions, got everybody back, so nothing that's too, I'd say, much different with the team. Makes sense you win a title with a bunch of young players. Why would you reinvent the wheel? So they brought everyone back, and you know what? They are still, believe it or not, really, really good. Now, for the actual lineup, just to read it off once again, you are looking at the same lineup as last year, except we know that they were missing a guy or two earlier in the season, but now Hardenstein and Chet are healthy for the start of the season. But you're looking at Shea, Caruso, Dort, Holmgren, and Hartenstein. Still have Case and Wallace, still have Aaron Wiggins, still have the other Jalen Williams, and still have Mitchell. So this team is the same team as last year, and they're still going to be really good. Now, the question is, do the Thunder care enough about home field, or home court, I mean? We know that they were incredible on their home floor last year, so they should, but they won a title. You might get a hangover attached to it. Thunder might prioritize health. We'll see. It's kind of funny, though, because if they prioritize health, they still might win 60 games. Like, I'm not going to say that this team is going to win 45. Like, they're clearly headed for probably 60. But the point is, do I think they're a lock to win this division? I'm going to say no. I think Denver could actually give them a run for their money. Denver is a team that finally got rid of Michael Porter Jr. Now, we ended up on my favorite team. I don't want to talk about it, but still, you're looking at Denver, who ended up acquiring Cam Johnson, who I like infinitely more than Michael Porter Jr. They got Jamal Murray, who we'll see how many games he actually plays because he's hurt every year, but when healthy, we know he's really good. Brown got an extension. We know he's a very solid player, had a good season last year at the shooting guard spot. Cam Johnson now, Aaron Gordon, and Jokic. You're looking at Bruce Brown, who came back, took the Westbrook role, as he will now be the sixth man. They straw their back. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. for $3.6 million, which I'm actually a fan of for that contract. Peyton Watson, good defender. And they got Valanciunas, solid backup center. He almost ditched the NBA for Serbia, but he got convinced to come back, and now he's playing out his contract for the season. Don't mind that. Still have Pickett, still have Hunter Tyson. So overall, it's a very good team. Now, the bench in itself, you can argue, doesn't exactly have any wow factor. With Bruce Brown, who's been, I'd say, just coasting off an overpay on his contract for the last couple of years, and now he's back. I like Bruce Brown. We'll see if he can be the same guy that he was when he was with Denver the first time around. Strawther, I think's okay. Hardaway Jr. Is, of course, a very streaky 3-and-D guy. Does draw a lot of charges, so maybe that'll help. Watson, not really much offensive talent, but a good defensive player. Valanciunas, who will be the new DeAndre Jordan replacement. So, look, if Murray goes down, they might have some problems. We know Joker is still an absolute basketball god, so Joker might average a 30-point triple-double if Murray goes down. But I think we have to assume Murray, for the sake of division expectations, let's assume he qualifies for awards. Not saying he wins an award, but let's say Murray ends up playing in the mid to high 60s. Let's set that up. Do I think Denver can win 60 games if Murray plays 65-plus games? I do. I think they can. I think Denver knows after last year, I know everyone got injured, but they still had to go into OKC for Game 7, and they got blown out. They were very close to beating the inevitable champions, and they're in the same division. I think Denver can beat this OKC team if they're healthy. Now, I do think because of that, both teams are so good on their home court, and they're not bad on the road, but they're much worse on the road than at home. I think home court's really important for these two teams. So I can see both teams swinging it out, trying to outlast each other to get home court, to get the 1 seed in the Western Conference and the entire playoffs. So I'm actually going to give Denver a decent shot to pull this off. Will they? I didn't say that. But do I think that OKC at minus 380, 390 is a lock to win this division? I'm not going to say so. I think OKC and Denver are separated by within 3 games by season's end. I'm not saying who's finishing first, finishing second, but I think it will be a very close race throughout. I don't see OKC blowing this division open like last year where they wrapped it up with a month and a half to go. I don't see that happening. I think Denver knows that they really could use home court for a hypothetical Game 7 against a division rival in OKC. I think both teams have a shot at 60. It really wouldn't shock me if Denver and OKC are battling for a division title at 60-22 and 61-21. That wouldn't shock me if that's how this turned out. For value, I'll go Denver, but I do think it's going to be a very close race. You might get some better numbers mid-season on OKC, but preseason, I can't take 390. Not interested. Give me Denver for the flyer. I'm really buying in on this team. I didn't like Coach Malone. Adelman, I thought was very good in the postseason. They lost because they ran out of bodies. Everyone got hurt. So I do think when they're healthy, they're very, very dangerous. They're great in every clutch scenario because Joker, once again, can do anything he wants in crunch time. I'll take Denver as my choice here for plus 380, going for the value. Seeing the actual comment section here, people commenting about AWS. Yes, it destroyed everything, including this platform, for about 8 hours. I see TSK asking about the picks for tomorrow. We're doing that in the morning. So this is the final preseason episode. There will be an episode for the morning on the 2 opening night games. So we're not going to talk about those games. We're saving that for the morning. So keep that in mind. I see Stu mentioning about Murray. I mean, yeah, he's a wild card. I mean, it is what it is. So we'll see how healthy he is. We like him as a player, but he is hurt all the time, and he's paid a bunch of money. So Gray, no. We're going to do player props as well tomorrow in the game preview episode on Tuesday morning. So not this episode, next episode. Anyway, moving on to the last division. We're going to talk about Southwest. So for this one, you have what could be potentially interesting if you are drinking the entire Wemby Kool-Aid or the Cooper Flag Kool-Aid. You have the Rockets with Kevin Durant at minus 230. Spurs are at plus 475. Mavericks are at 750. Grizzlies are at 12-1. And the Pelicans are wasting everyone's time. So for the Rockets, of course, they lost Van Vliet, who tore his ACL. He's done for the entire season. Their backcourt is an absolute shambles. You're looking at right now the projected lineup being a very, very interesting one. I'm in a point guard. This is for game 1. This was confirmed. I'm in a point guard. Kevin Durant at shooting guard, which is nuts. Jabari Smith Jr. at small forward. Şengün at the power forward. And Adams at center. So long this lineup lasts. But they have no guard depth at all. I like Amin a lot. Is he a point guard? No, he's not. Is Durant a shooting guard? Not really, but they have a ton of length. They get a bunch of rebounds, and defensively with Udoka, they should be really good. Now, I do think their backcourt, though, is problematic, and we talk about it all the time. It is a guard-driven league, or at least it used to be. We saw SGA win the title, and he's arguably the best guard in the league. So I question the backcourt. Katie's health is always a concern. I don't trust him to stay healthy. They lost Jalen Green, who played a bunch of games. He played every game last year. Dylan Brooks also played a bunch of games too. You might dislike Dylan Brooks, but he played a bunch of games. They had a lot of injuries last year. And now you add Durant into the fold. And I do think they're going to be a good team. But when you're looking at the games played here, Green played 82. Brooks played 75. They're both gone. Şengün played 76. Van Vliet played 60. He's done for the season. Amin played 69. Jabari played 57. Eason played 57. Bunch of injuries. I got questions about this team. And if Durant gets injured, do I think they have enough shooting to actually win games while he's gone? Defensively, they'll be able to win games because with the amount of size they have, they're going to be just a handful. When you're looking at all the center options they have, Şengün can go small and play center if they need to. They still have Adams. They have Capella now. look, they got a lot of options. Finney Smith they also have. He's injured at the moment as well. Their bench, though, is Aaron Holiday, Reed Shepard, Okogie, Tari Eason, and Capella. So they're guards right now because Durant's listed as a shooting guard at the moment. But if you ignore Kevin Durant and mention actual guards on this team, Amen, you could argue as a guard. You could also argue forward. I'll say he's a guard, though. Aaron Holiday, Reed Shepard, and Okogie, like that's just a horrible backcourt. That's a mess of a backcourt. So if Durant plays shooting guard and it works, then good for them. Do I think this can get, I'd say, dicey with either chemistry issues or health issues with no guard depth at all? I do. If Amen gets injured, they have a ton of problems in the backcourt. So I'll put it this way. I'm not saying Houston's not going to win this division, but I think that they're actually more vulnerable than people think. And it sounds like Durant's joining the team. Sounds like there are people already crowning the Rockets as being a team that could finish with a top 2 seed in the West. I don't really see it that way. I think Van Vliet's a guy who I've not been the biggest fan of in the past, but they really needed him for guard depth purposes on this team. And with him being gone, it's a big loss. So I'll make some discussion cases here. The Spurs, if Wemby actually plays like a top 5 guy in the league and Fox stays healthy, doesn't have the random hand injury that he gets every season, maybe they win like 45 plus games. Will I pick the Spurs? No, I'm not going to. Wemby's health is a question mark after the blood clots last year. I will not take the Spurs, but if you want to make an argument for it, I understand your case. I'm not going to join you. I'm rooting for you. But I think the Spurs, if Wemby turns out to be this, oh my God, what is this type of player? And he ends up averaging 27 and 12 with like 3 blocks a game, and he's an actual MVP guy, and he plays 70-plus games, maybe San Antonio wins like high 40s, and they're in the running. But I don't think they have enough, and I do think having Fox and having Harper together is a bit redundant. Same with Castle. Not really a fan of the three-point shooting options for them and for the Rockets. So I have questions about these two teams. I'll pass on the Spurs, though, at that price, and I'm interested at plus 475. Then you get Dallas. Dallas at 750 is interesting. Kyrie's out until at least January. So Kyrie should be coming back for at least a month or two, but we'll see if he's ahead or behind on his timetable from the injury. Now, they have AD. For how many games, we don't know. They have Cooper Flagg, who looked very good in preseason. Does that matter? No. But the fact is they have another guy that they can add who can maybe help them get by until Kyrie comes back. Jason Kidd was trying out Flagg at point guard. We'll see what creative nonsense Kidd comes up with. But their lineup is D'Angelo Russell, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and Lively. Their bench is Caleb Martin, who in hindsight they really should have kept, of course, Quentin Grimes. They have Najee Marshall, who I don't mind, PJ Washington, and Daniel Gafford. They also have Dwight Powell, Max Christie, Dante Exum, who's hurt every year, but he's healthy for now, and Jaden Hardy. I'll put it this way. I actually really like their depth at 750. I think that for a team that might be missing AD for, let's say, 20 games this season, and for a team that might be missing Kyrie for more than half the season, this team's depth is actually pretty good. If Flagg's really good and AD is healthy, this team is going to smother opponents defensively. Flagg is a really, really good defensive player. You throw him with AD and Lively and Gafford, it is a block party every damn game. So I'll put it this way. I think Dallas, if they can actually be let's say 10 games over 500 by the time Kyrie comes back, they got a puncher's chance. Are they going to be 10 games over? I'm not sure. But 750 compared to San Antonio being 475, there should not be roughly a $3 differential between Dallas and San Antonio. For value, I'll go Dallas for this division. Will they win it? Probably not. But I do think if we're asking which team has the best chance or the best value of dethroning Houston, I'll argue Dallas, hoping Kyrie comes back for a couple months to help out the backcourt, and once again hoping that the front court does dominance and depth with the likes of AD, with the likes of Gafford, Lively, Flagg as well. If you want to throw in Dwight Powell for the hell of it, you can. 750, I really don't mind it. I see money mentioning them to make the playoffs at even money. I like that. I actually like them to be a play-in team. Dallas, if you want to go for some value, I know it goes against what I just said. If you want to go for the playoffs, even money, I don't mind. Playing teams plus 125. So if you are a bit lower on Dallas and you don't trust the injuries, I think this team is going to potentially hover around 500 for most of the season. Playing is plus 125. I don't mind that. Think playoffs, though, could be an option. At even money, I do like the price quite a bit. When you have AD, who's getting older, of course, and the fact that he's always hurt, you end up, making some moves. Dallas, I don't see tanking at any point. I'm just going to go for it. I don't mind playoffs there at around even money. So I see Delano mentioning the Kings being better than we think. A part of that comes down to expectations. When you say much better, you say better than we think. What is your expectation? Do you have them at like 34 wins? Do you have them being at like 40 wins? I mean, it's kind of beauty in the eye of the beholder. If you think the Kings are going to be decent, I think they'll be arguably where you have them at. If you think they're going to be bad, maybe they're not going to be terrible, but maybe fringe play-in team 10 seed. I disagree personally. I'm not a fan of the Kings at all. I question what the team's doing. I think that signing Westbrook is a fun fan move for jersey sales and for some buzz. But in reality, the Kings are not winning this division, are not winning the Pacific. I don't think they got a chance to win that division. With the Clippers' depth, with the Warriors and the Lakers, I think the Kings are the 4 in there. So if you want to argue about the Kings being decent, maybe argue a play-in spot. But for division winner conversation, I'm not including Sacramento in that conversation. Is Christie a good coach? We don't really know. The team did not totally unravel while he was there. But they also, once again, weren't very good. They just didn't implode. So is Christie good? We don't know. We're going to find out. But I think the Kings are the 4 spot in the Pacific. We'll go from there. If you want to argue, they might sniff a play-in spot. I disagree, but you're entitled to your opinion. They might be better than some people think. But technically, if they win 38 games, they're better than most people think. I think they win around 33. I'm not a fan of Sacramento, but either way, if you think that LaVine and DeRozan and Schroeder and Westbrook and Sabonis can piece together, and Monk, who's still there for some reason, if you think they can win 40, bet their play-in spot. I'm not going to, but if you want to do that, I would bet the play-in as the best option, in my opinion, for you there, Delano. Portland, you're mentioning a playoff run. I don't mind the same thing that I mentioned with the Kings. I'd argue a play-in spot. You can find the play-in options for both teams if you want to actually look at the play-in just for the odds pricing. Kings are available at plus 145. Trailblazers play-in is available at plus 195. So I do think that for the sake of argument, I would rather have Portland at 195 play-in than the Kings at 175 in the play-in. The Kings at 145. I'd rather have 50 extra cents on Portland by comparison. So that's my thoughts on those two teams. I'm higher on Portland than I am on Sacramento. I'm not really high on either. But if you're asking which team I would rather bet to make the play-in, I would take Portland at 190 instead of Kings plus 145. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the divisions that we talked about. Went mostly chalk, couple of flyers in there. Then again, a reminder, it's the NBA. It does get pretty chalk in the regular season. The playoffs are when it kind of opens up. But either way, that's my thoughts on the divisions. Anyway, to move on into the finals picks. Before we get into the actual finals picks, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, Arctic Fantasy. Play Fans Pick'em. Chance to win 5 times your entry. Pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats. Available for different sports as well. You can mix and match, whether it involves basketball, hockey, tennis, golf, you name it. But also check out the new offer for customers. Play just $5. Get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code NBA SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. They're off to a great center college football and NFL, crushing it with picks and props, giving away cash prize every week for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type of model that you built. You can win $1K. Also, a nice discount that we have with Rhythm. Use code SGPN25. You download the app for a quarter of the first month. That Rhythm, once again, promo code SGPN25 for a quarter off your first month. Welcome back, everyone, to the NBA Game Podcast. Finished going through the divisions. Time to move on into the NBA Finals picks. Spoiler, not going to go too creative here. I'm going to go relatively chalk. I don't see many teams that I think can actually win the title. Now, once again, shop around. I'm using DraftKings for convenience, but you can find better prices on other books. Thunder, plus 245. Nuggets are at 6-1. Cavs are at 750. Knicks are at 9-1. Rockets are at 11-1. Lakers are at 14-1, which is ridiculous. Separate point. Timberwolves 14-1. Warriors 18-1. Magic 22-1. Mavericks 25-1. Clippers 28-1. Sixers are at 30-1. That's insane too. Hawks are at 45-1. Bucks are at 50-1. You kind of get the point. So, starting off with OKC, do I think they should be favored? Yes. Do I think they can repeat? Yes. All right, that's enough said. Check off the Thunder. I think they can pull this off. The Nuggets at 6-1. Do I think they can do this? Yes, I do. I think Denver is actually a pretty decent value play for me. I think that whoever comes out of the West will win the title. I know a lot of Knicks fans love the Knicks. I get they are arguing the Knicks can get over the hump. I don't believe it personally. I think the Thunder and or Nuggets would beat the brakes off this damn Knicks team in a 7-game series. So for that reason, I'm going pretty chalky. I'm really not taking any Eastern Conference teams. If you want to take the Knicks, then go for the exact series outcome, which is Thunder versus Knicks in the finals. And you can find that price available at 12-1. That would be my counterpoint. Take the Knicks to win the Eastern Conference is at plus 275. That would be the play for me. I don't trust the Cavs at all after watching them unravel against the Pacers last season. I don't trust them that much. I think durability was in their favor last year, and they still fell apart. Yes, I know Garland had a bad toe. I get it. But I do think if you want to go for an Eastern Conference team, I would just take them to make it to the finals against the Thunder or the Nuggets. Nuggets versus Knicks. Sorry, so the Thunder to beat the Knicks is 12-1. Nuggets to beat the Knicks is 30-1. You can get really, really creative here with the exact outcomes for the finals matchup, or even to actually just reach the finals. Knicks are at 275. I do think that you can make an argument for a sleeper team. I see Stu mentioning the Warriors. I question physically if Curry, if Horford, if Butler, if Draymond can handle that many playoff series on top of the 82 regular season games. It's asking a lot. If we were about 3 years earlier, maybe I'd make an argument. I think they're too old personally, but I understand where you're coming from. If they're healthy, maybe they got a shot. Maybe. I see Delano mentioning the Hawks. I think that Trey's going to have a solid season in the contract year. But at the end of the day, if you're going to actually make it to the finals, you have to play some resemblance of defense, and they don't play any defense at all. So the Hawks I'm not really into. I think they'll be a good regular season team, obviously, but do I think they'll go into a 4 out of 7 series, which is a bit slower paced, and actually guard somebody? I'm going to say no. So the Hawks I'm going to pass on. I think they could be a good regular season team that actually loses first round because the defense is that bad. But I do think that the Warriors, if you want to go for a long shot in the West, I don't agree, Stu, but I get where your mind's at. If you turn off the injury slider and you assume perfect health, Golden State maybe has a shot with championship medal, but I'm not going to bet on it. I got pure chalk here. Give me the Thunder and the Nuggets. That's it. I got 2 teams that I think can win the title. That's all I got. So if you wanted to get a bit more creative with the Cavs or the Knicks, then that's on you. I'm going to stick with the 2 teams I trust the most. Give me the Thunder and the Nuggets, and we'll move on from there. Anyway, by the way, I see David mentioning the Magic and Nuggets in a final. For reference, the Nuggets to beat the Magic in the finals is 55-1. Not saying that's going to happen, but you can get creative. I think whoever comes out of the West will beat whoever comes out of the East. Anyway, moving on into the best bet segment. Not really much to choose from because I did end up going through pretty chalky title, once again, picks, and we'll go from there. I think my best bet will actually be on the Knicks. I'm going to go with the Knicks to win 55-plus games at plus 125. The East is not very good. The Knicks are deep. I do love their overall roster. Clarkson can be streaky, but he's still a good bench player to have. I think in that division, with the Celtics and the Sixers who are injured, the Nets being terrible, and the Raptors who have a very expensive roster to be probably a 7 or a 6 seed, The Knicks have a lot of very manageable games in that division. I will go with the Knicks to win 55-plus games at plus 125 as my best bet for the show. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. We'll be back once again for game breakdowns on Tuesday morning. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of